Missiles were launched, alarms sounded. For a moment, the world held its breath, but no war followed. Why would Iran strike a United States air base and then stop? Tonight, we break down the strategy, the signals, and the silent rules that prevented a wider war. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we break down a tense headline that shocked global audiences. Iran fired missiles at a United States air base, yet the world did not spiral into a major war. This moment matters because it shows how modern conflicts are shaped by signals, restraint, and calculated risk. In this video, we will explain what happened, why Iran acted, how Washington interpreted the strike, and what it means for future military confrontations. Stay with us as we cut through noise, propaganda, and panic to understand the strategy behind the missiles. This is not just about explosions. It is about messaging, power, and red lines. If you want clear analysis without hype, you are in the right place. Let us begin by setting the scene and understanding why this strike was never meant to start a war. The missile strike did not happen in isolation. It followed months of rising tensions, sanctions, military movements, and political pressure. Iran faced economic strain and strong domestic expectations to respond to perceived aggression. At the same time, the United States maintained a powerful military presence in the region to signal deterrence. Both sides understood one thing clearly: a direct clash could quickly spiral beyond control. This background explains why Iran chose a limited and visible action instead of silence or a massive attack. The goal was to respond without crossing the point of no return. History shows that in moments like these, states often use symbolic force instead of decisive attacks. By launching missiles while avoiding mass casualties, Iran followed a pattern of controlled confrontation. This approach allows a state to be heard without inviting destruction. The context of pressure, risk, and survival shaped every decision made during this moment. From a military perspective, the choice of weapons, timing, and targets was deliberate. The missiles were launched in a way that allowed early detection and warning. This gave defenses time to respond and reduced the risk of casualties. The target itself was important. The air base symbolized American military presence, not civilian life. That distinction matters deeply in modern warfare. It frames the strike as a message to leadership, not an attack on people. Iran demonstrated reach, accuracy, and capability. At the same time, it showed restraint. The message was clear: we can strike, but we choose limits. Defense analysts study such actions carefully. They reveal doctrine, thresholds, and intent. This balance between power and restraint defines calculated warnings in modern conflict. It separates signaling strikes from true declarations of war. Washington's response mattered as much as the strike itself. Instead of immediate retaliation, the United States emphasized assessment and calm. Public statements focused on damage evaluation, force protection, and diplomatic channels. This showed that American leadership understood the signal and chose not to escalate. By avoiding a dramatic counterstrike, Washington denied Iran the wider conflict it did not seek. Restraint, in this case, became a display of strength. The response also reassured allies who fear regional instability. Every word, every pause, and every briefing was measured. This is how crisis management works at the highest level. Silence and patience became tools as powerful as weapons. Calm messaging reduced the risk of miscalculation and preserved strategic stability. International reactions further confirmed that this was a warning, not a declaration of war. Global powers urged restraint and dialogue rather than choosing sides. Financial markets reacted briefly, then stabilized quickly. This showed limited fear of a prolonged conflict. Media coverage shifted from panic to analysis within hours. Regional states raised alert levels but avoided full mobilization. When real wars begin, uncertainty dominates reactions for days or weeks. Here, predictability returned quickly. That tells us something important. The strike fit within understood boundaries of confrontation. It allowed diplomacy to continue while reminding all sides of the risks involved. This is how power signaling often works in the modern world. For Iran, the domestic message was just as important as the international one. Leadership needed to show strength and resolve to its population. At the same time, it needed to avoid national devastation. The visible strike satisfied hardline expectations at home. Restraint protected long-term survival. This is the challenge many governments face today. They must speak to citizens, rivals, and partners at the same time. The missile launch allowed Iran to claim dignity and deterrence while keeping doors open for easing tensions. Domestic politics, economic pressure, and legitimacy often drive foreign policy decisions. Understanding this internal dimension explains why the strike looked dramatic but controlled. For the United States, the incident reinforced key lessons about deterrence and communication. Military readiness remained high without impulsive action. Defensive systems performed their role. Intelligence channels stayed active. Leadership avoided emotional responses. This demonstrated confidence in strength and alliances. The event also provided valuable insight into adversary capabilities without the cost of war. Most importantly, it clarified thresholds. The United States showed it can distinguish between symbolic strikes and existential threats. This clarity reduces the risk of accidental conflict in future crises. This episode fits a broader global pattern. States increasingly use limited force to send messages. Missiles, drones, and cyber operations now act as communication tools. They test defenses, assert presence, and shape narratives without triggering total war. Technology enables precision and visibility. This makes controlled escalation possible. But danger remains. Every calculated move carries the risk of error or misinterpretation. Understanding these dynamics helps audiences avoid panic-driven reactions. Knowledge becomes a form of resilience in an era of constant breaking news. Looking ahead, an important question remains. Will calculated warnings continue to work? As more actors adopt similar tactics, the margin for error may shrink. Repeated strikes could normalize danger and reduce caution. Future stability will depend on communication, credibility, and disciplined leadership. This incident reminds us that peace is often maintained through careful management of fear and power. History rarely turns on a single strike. It turns on how states learn from repeated encounters and adjust behavior over time. In conclusion, Iran's missile strike was designed to speak loudly without triggering war. It demonstrated capability, resolve, and restraint at the same time. The measured American response confirmed a shared understanding of limits. Tensions remain, but this episode shows how modern conflict often exists between peace and war. By understanding intent, context, and response, we can interpret future crises more clearly. Not every explosion marks the beginning of war. Careful analysis matters more than fear. If this breakdown added value, like the video, subscribe for deep military analysis and share your thoughts in the comments. Do you think calculated warnings are becoming the new normal in global conflicts?